All right, what's up, y'all? We here. This is A2 Lit, and this is the Free Files. I'm here with the legendary Uncle Kizzy. Tell me who you are, man.
My name is Uncle Kizzy, aka Kyle Alexander Ashton Casey. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm a producer, artist, content creator, guitarist. Yeah.
And so you're here today because we've seen your reels everywhere. We've seen your TikToks. We've also seen your production as well. So let's get into that right away. What inspires your production and what makes you create the way you do?
Okay. So I think what inspires
My
my
bad.
production.
My bad. But before we get into that, let them know what you've been doing as well on the reels because some people haven't seen it.
You said what?
Also, let them know what you're doing because I feel like some people haven't. Some people may not have seen what you've done already. So let them know like how you're putting together
Um,
your tracks and stuff.
okay. So basically, I'll just you know what? I'll just talk about how this all started. So basically, like 2020. Obviously, well, I was in college at Berkeley College of Music in Boston, and I was like in around March of 2020. That's when everybody got hit with COVID, and I was a junior in college. Um, about to get like about to get into my senior year, but obviously, like they told us, nah, we booting y'all out. So I had a week uh to pack all my stuff up and go back home, and then we had to spend that entire year and a half roughly in a crib, and I was bored trying to figure out what I could do with my time with um not like watching, being on my computer all the time, even though what I've been doing is being on my computer all the time, but just in a very productive way and in a way that would be helpful for me. So at the time I was listening to a lot of knowledge, and basically I was listening to all the stuff he had on SoundCloud, and I was just heavy listening to like a whole bunch of knowledge flips. And that's where I got the idea to be like, okay, let's do something on my Instagram called Friday Flips. So originally I did this thing on my Instagram where I wanted to put content out. I wanted to show people how my mind works. I wanted to show people what I think of and what I hear in my head when I make music. So I made up this thing called Friday Flips where I would like post a flip of a song that I would make every Friday. And I remember the first thing I made um was like this like Memphis type beat that I made over Shame by Freddie Gibbs. Specifically like first verses before BJ starts singing. But I did that. A lot of people said it was, I looked at the comments. I didn't my page was like at 2,000 something, that much engagement on it. But uh from what people were saying, they were like, "Oh, this is fire! Like, this is really cool. It's really like you type thing." And I kept on doing it throughout. I kept on doing it throughout quarantine, and then it just got to a point where not only was I doing it, but I was really like honing in on like my craft, being a producer and being, you know, and just like making my own my like music identity in that. So like basically um I was making beats before. I was like making beats um before we all went back home for COVID. But the thing was, like, I was kind of like, it was kind of like ideas that I just had in my head. I didn't want to call myself a producer for real, but like I would just be like, yeah, I made beats. By the time I got into, but by the time I was in a crib and I could realize I could work on this every day, then I was like, nah, yeah, I'm a producer. Like now I'm like, okay, yeah. And the thing is, like, a lot of people have heard my stuff and um have been like the people that I show my stuff to, and the people that I like proudly, want to share my stuff with, to show them how like my mind works and stuff. They always tell me like, whether they like it or not, they'll be like, "This is like, this is amazing. This is, or they'll be like, it's very interesting." But the thing is, like, a lot of what I thought to myself beforehand was me thinking that I needed validation from other people to know that my stuff was hard,
Mm-hmm.
until I got to a point where I started making stuff, and then I was just like, "Nah, I know it is."
He's put it out.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and the other thing too is that like we live in a day and age now where everything, there's leak culture is huge. Like people leak stuff all the time. You ever make something with somebody, like especially for a bigger artist, like
Mm-hmm.
when I heard about like the amount of Atlanta rappers that had all their shit leaked, like especially like with like Gunna,
Mm-hmm.
while he was out, while he was in jail, and they just put out like 100 something tracks of his that were all leaks or whatever. And that's on a different end, but at the same time, like I felt to myself like there was part of me that was like, "Are you gonna post? Are you only doing this stuff for social media? Like, are you only making these beats for those 4 8 bars and that's it?" And then I thought to myself, I was like, "But why does that matter? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like what are those 4 and 8 bars? What are those 4 bar 8 bar loops that you make that are really good? Can like you can come back to and turn into something greater."
Mm-hmm.
And then that's only what people see. That's only what people see on the flip side. That's only what people see on on the screen, and they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So, like, um, a lot of I wanted to kind of do my own thing with my music, because at the time, like, I was in school for guitar at at my college. Like, that was like my principal instrument going to school,
And where'd you go to school?
and I've been playing guitar. Berkeley College of Music in Boston. Yeah, and at the time, it was the best music college in the country. Um, and now it's Juilliard, but I saw that like there was a whole lot of for in being in that environment. There's a lot of politics. Um, there's a lot of people that were there are certain people that like uh, had different opinions about what other musicians did and what they should be doing instead of doing their own thing. They, like where I was going to school, people would be like, "Oh, these people need to be in shows. They need to be playing forever. They need to be playing all the time. They need to be doing this, doing that, and the third." But the thing is, like, what I learned in school is that like if you're doing a whole bunch of stuff just for stuff, like at the end of the day, one, you're not getting paid for that. Two, it's experience, but if that's what you're going to school for, just to play, like
Yeah,
what
there's so much
you
more.
know, and then what comes out of that,
Yeah.
right? So like, and I was having of course I was having a mental battle with that, because like I thought school was fun, so I played a bunch of gigs with my friends and stuff, but I also had to figure out what I wanted to do for myself and as the end goal. And um, a lot of what I've done, what I did in school, kind of shaped me to, you know, figure out my own musical identity, figure out what I wanted to do, what I want to do post college. So, and now I'm here.
So I actually want to get into that post college vision. And I want to talk about your vision as a producer as well, because I think something that your reels and that your TikToks have been showing is that, unpopular opinion, I think that a lot of people today are beat makers, right? And not a lot of people
Yeah,
have the vision of a producer. Okay, Like
Yeah.
some of my favorite people are like P Diddy, DJ Khaled. I know they have a lot of history behind them, right? But they knew how to take an artist and take a good song and put it together. They didn't always produce every track they made, but they knew how to put it
Right.
together, and they were the executive producers of that. I think that what you've been doing, bro, is like executive producing and showing people like, yo, I know I got the ear, I got the sound, you know, I know what works together, and that's a huge thing in today's day and age because there aren't a
Mhm.
lot of people who can do that. So
Yeah. I
where's
think
that come from? You know what I mean?
okay, so I think um dang, that's a good question. Um I think a lot of where my production comes from is so when I was first starting out, like um I would like I had a lot of friends that I was cool with in college that like um made samples and stuff like that. Like one of my friends from college was really really good at making samples. Like he was really really good, and um it was funny. His name's Jake, and uh he actually went to school for he actually went to school playing tuba, and then which is wild to me. And he made beats first off, but then found more love in making loops and samples and stuff. And he had so many like different he had access to so many different instruments and stuff like that and recording and stuff, and he had a tape recorder
Oh,
and
it's
stuff.
fire.
Uh yeah, I know, and he had like all this like cool gear and stuff like that was like that he kind of found out he kind of got on his own. And I had me having conversations with him and stuff like kind of uh inspired me to like he had a whole bunch of samples that he would just send me just because like we were cool, and then I would like kind of make beats out of those and then be like, oh well, this sounds cool over this and stuff, and this sounds cool over that. um and a lot of the way I approach music is uh one coming from being also from being a music listener and being a music appreciator. And I think a lot of people these days like don't really appreciate the music that much.
Well, let's talk
I
on that.
think we live in a day and age. What you say?
Yeah, let's talk about that too.
Yeah, I just feel like right now, like I just feel like right now, like the appreciation you can tell it's like so easy for me to tell when people really appreciate what's going on instead of like only taking it at face value. So like um and the thing is like social media is a huge role in that. I think from the rise of TikTok, like you hear the first 20-30 seconds of a song and then you think it's fire and you go and listen to the song and it's not what you really thought it was for the majority for the 2 minutes 30 seconds it would have been. And um the other thing too is that like from being a music appreciator, music listener, like I grew up around great music my entire life. My mom and dad played neo soul a lot in my house. Grew up on Erica Badu. I grew up on D'Angelo. I grew up on Anthony Hamilton. Um I grew up on Music Soul Child. I grew up on all this amazing music. But on the flip side, I also grew up on Prince. I grew up on Dave Matthews Band. I grew up on Michael Jackson. I grew up on uh Brian McKnight. People that like where the musicality was the was the factor. Like they made sure that these people made sure that whatever they were making was at the top level they wanted it to be at, and also like wherever the music took them, they were gonna take it there. They let the music speak for itself. So if you had wherever the music is a really really good 4 bar 8 bar loop and it just sits really well and it sounds really good that you don't need to really you don't really need to take it anywhere else, you can just sit it right there. Or wherever it's a big huge composition and it's like it starts out with a string section, it starts out with a a well orchestrated intro, and then it goes into something and goes into a strong backbeat. Where I've um that's where I've appreciated music at. So when I was in, and then when I was in, a lot of my music appreciation came from high school. I When I was in high school, I would just like literally go on Wikipedia and look up like and just look up and read about different types of music, different types of subgenres, different types of people in those subgenres, what their contributions were, what they did for that genre, and like I would just listen to a whole bunch of music. Like I had a love for Curtis Mayfield growing up, and I
Mm.
still do. I feel like Curtis Mayfield is is honestly one of the greatest composers and producers of our time, or of you know
What's your favorite
his
record?
time.
Favorite record from him?
Oh my god. We the people who are darker than blue, probably. Either that song or Give Me Your Love. And it's crazy because he could sing, he could play guitar, and he could write string arrangements that were and he could just write string arrangements that were so good. Like, and also the craziest thing about that time, like, is that his music, most of his music came from the 70s. The 70s is the greatest decade of music, and I will stamp that for. And because during that time, if you were a musician, you played a part and you stayed with it unless somebody told you to do something, unless somebody told you to do something more. Everybody had a part. So if you hear, like, when you listen to a Curtis Mayfield song, you hear the wah guitars doing it, and
Yeah.
that's all they would do the entire record. But that's the
That
foundation.
was so saucy.
They would,
That little flanger stuff going on, right?
yes, the flanger, the like, they would play that. They would play a wah guitar and just stay there for the entirety of the song. And then you would have string arrangements that were like gorgeous and really intricate, and then you would have horn sections that played a role, and then you had harps. I mean, he just thought about everything. Like, he wanted to think about just every piece of the puzzle, and tried to figure it out in his own way. And that's the reason why, like, a lot of his music spoke to me for some reason. I was listening to, as much as I got into Curtis Mayfield, like, I was listening to people just like him. I was listening to Sly and the Family Stone. I was listening to Marvin Gaye. I was listening to uh, a lot of, like, basically 70s soul, like funk and soul, uh, funkadelic, Parliament. And then on the other side, I was listening to Miles Davis. I was listening to John
Ooh,
Coltrane. I was listening to
ooh.
Kenny Burrell. I was listening to Doug Karn, um, and then Wes Montgomery. Like,
So,
all this like great music.
can we get into this now? I got a question about this now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I love also talking about how music is connected to its political and social discourse, right? In its time.
right,
And one thing I studied in college and high school was just how was jazz connected to civil rights? How is it connected to our social standing? And how was the music elevated through the production of the music, right? And
right,
I've always thought about how jazz literally came. Well, at the time, there was segregation, there's redlining, all this stuff. Blacks didn't have that class, but jazz is able to break that boundary and move above it, right? And I think about
right.
how the chords and sound selection and just the way that it was delivered was essential to that. And
Exactly.
so, like, in that same parallel, like, I guess maybe what records or what things from, like, or jazz or the '70s do you think that, like, really brought up the quality of sound in general that we don't have today? Because we started off with, like, people don't really appreciate music anymore, and I feel like it's because the quality isn't the same.
So there's a couple records that I feel like stood the test of time and made you know made a statement for our generation, or just made a statement for their generation and for years to come. So, in terms of jazz, I feel like one record that stood out to I'm not a huge fan of this record. I would never personally go back to it, but one record that Miles Davis made was a record called On the Corner, and it's
Mm.
a jazz funk fusion album, and it's very much so like when you play it, it sounds like, to the common listener, it would sound like noise. It would sound like it would sound like being in the middle of New York City and having a sensory overload because you hear 10 million cars honking and people talking all the time. But to him, that's what sounded like music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was freeform jazz. Like he would just play something and
Oh
other people.
wait, this was free
And
jazz.
yeah, it's like, yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely free jazz. Like it's funk, it's like jazz funk fusion, but like it was definitely like nobody wrote any sheet music.
Mm-hmm.
Miles would just play something, and then Miles would just play something, and then people would just pick up on what he was playing on and just play whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So um that was well, one, it was a political statement, but it was also a statement to people that was like he just didn't feel like making the same music anymore, and he felt like I want to make the music I want to make. And a lot of critics were hating on the album, but then if you realize, a lot of the critics that were hating on the album were also white, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't understand. So
He was pushing the culture.
and and also he Miles knew that it wasn't for white people to understand, and I think a lot of black music that like that we make isn't for white people to understand. If we fast forward to last year, um, Smino had did a color show for Rice and Gravy,
Mm-hmm.
and people were so all the people that like were hearing him rap who didn't know who he was. He was talking about like he had all these black movie references. He was talking about hair and black hair and all this, and there's so many people in the comments that were like, what is bro, they were like, oh, bro's just saying words, like he's just talking, what is he even talking about, whatever, this, that, and the third. um the discourse in that is that it's not for the majority, it's
Mm-hmm.
for us. So, and in that song he says, like, Juices and Berry, no perm. I rock Air Forces, don't force shit. Like, um,
It's,
long hair. And like he's just talking about being his own personal, like, just beautiful black self.
unapologetically
And
black. Mm-hmm.
right, and it's like a lot, and that's what a lot of his music does. A lot of Smino's music is just him loving himself, loving his hair, loving his, and however many ways he can manipulate it to look like what he wants it to look like,
Mm-hmm.
loving his skin, his loving other, loving black women, loving uh what he's capable of. And a lot of that is like why people draw so much attention towards him. And so and then going back to your original question, so I think Miles Davis on the Corner is one album. Marvin Gaye's I Want You is a very, like, it was a statement in time that, like, he basically made this, like, it was a album about sex and love, and making it basically having an album that kind of like pushed the boundary to make sexual music tasteful.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you hear I Want You, it's that song is literally about sex, but like he makes it sound like it's inviting. It's not crass. It's not like and obviously in our day and age now, like when it comes to music like that, people will say whatever. You know,
Yeah.
people are more,
People like that
and
rawness
I mean
now.
like that's fine. I know, and that's fine. Like they can do whatever they want. It's like I'm not saying that it shouldn't be that way because now we've like now it's more acceptable to just say the wildest stuff over on wax. But like back then it was like he wanted to make the statement to push the envelope so that people do that in further years on. So like I think Marvin Gaye's "I Want You" is a statement. I feel like Sly and the Family Stones. Um, there's a riot going on. That's a very much of uh like important album. Curtis Mayfield, honestly anything Curtis Mayfield put out in his time. Um, definitely a Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Definitely um like Funkadelics, Maggot Brain. Um, yeah, I mean the list could go. I
Yeah.
can't think of everything right now, but there's so many. I mean, there's so many.
Hey, so now I got some rapid fire questions for you then now. All right.
All right,
This is my favorite part. Okay.
okay.
First question is voodoo or brown sugar?
Voodoo,
All right. Next question is
any day,
why?
because that's the greatest. One, that's the greatest album of all time, and uh, I will not argue. There's no argument. Like that's the greatest album of all time to me. It's literally my favorite piece of music ever.
What's your favorite track on there?
Spanish joint.
Ooh. And you know what's crazy, bro? The guitarist on there was Charlie Hunter, the seventh string guitar. All right.
Yep.
That man used to live down the street from me, bro. I literally had no idea who he was, and he would say, "Yo, you play drums, man? He said,
Wow.
yo, come play." And I literally I'll go in his garage. He's literally living in a normal house. And I was playing in his garage with a few other kids on the block, and we were all just playing with him and just jamming. And then I found out later after he moved that that was D'Angelo's guitarist, and I'm like, what the? But
I
that
know.
was lit.
Like, and, and even what's crazy, what's crazier than that? My friend Morgan Burrs, who plays in this jazz group from Richmond, Virginia, called Butcher Brown. Um, Morgan plays guitar in that band. Him and Butcher Brown had a few gigs with Charlie Hunter,
Yeah,
and like, yeah, and um they basically did a lot of like they did a couple shows together or whatever, and I guess like Charlie was playing with them at the same time that they were. But I mean, the proximity to me and Charlie could have been that close as well. So, but
yeah.
I just know that Charlie, like, and then even going on Charlie's Instagram and stuff and seeing the way he plays guitar is absolutely crazy. Like he's the way his mind works is wild because he'll play bass. He'll basically play bass and then play guitar at the same time.
That's what the extra strings help him do.
Yeah,
That's dope. But yeah, so Spanish joint. That's what's oof, that's a good one. Next
I
question
know.
is top three plugins.
RC20. I don't care if anybody hating. RC20. Uh, I don't really have a lot of plugins for real. If we're being completely honest. That Waves cassette and Serato sample. Even though I don't have it.
So it's the sauce ones. The sauce ones. Yeah. Are there any plugins that you want?
Yeah, I want that one. I want Serato sample. Uh I want sketch cassette. I want um what's the other one? I want like what's that? There's Wolf compressor, either Wolf compressor or glue compressor. So it's like some like it was one plugin that Kenny Beats was using, like that was basically like a compressor or whatever that sounded really good. But yeah, that one as well. But yeah, I in my music I really don't use a lot of plugins for real. Like the most I'll put on something is like I use a lot of sound toys stuff. Like I have the whole bundle. Like and I usually like put a whole bunch of plugins on. I usually just put a whole bunch of plugins on my guitars and stuff because I usually my guitar sound dry. Like I like it having a lot of character. So like I usually put a lot of I usually like put a lot of effects on my guitars and putting them on my putting them on anything like any sounds or whatever, any like other effects or whatever. But that's it. I don't like the most I'll put on my drums is like isotope trash, but that's it.
Um, so we got Blank. Yeah, but Blank said he vouches for Sketch and for Wolf Compressor. And he says, "What music have you been listening to the most lately?"
uh,
Oh, she her.
can
I'm
I,
so sorry. Blank is she her. I apologize.
yeah, Blank's in my server actually. Uh, just guys over. Okay, what new music have you been listening to most lately? I have been listening to uh, Jesus. It is gonna sound well. Okay, I've been listening to a lot of. Dang, what has been up? Oh, my friend sent me. One of my friends sent me this like alternative playlist that he made. Um, he because we made a couple like beats and whatever that were kind of in that indie alternative like thing. So he made this playlist for me that I was listening to. That had like a lot of like Arjan Linker and Big Thief. This one artist named Drifter. Um, like lately as Barty Strange, who is like this black dude who makes indie rock and he's really cool. And a girl that I went to college with plays drums for him. Um, and then on the foot, like, and in terms of like rap and stuff, a lot like I've been kind of getting into Detroit niggas. Um, been uh I like there's like certain songs that have been here and there that I've been liking a lot. So I like I think the concept of regional rap is so cool to me. Like
Yeah.
the fact that Detroit has their own sound, the fact that Chicago has their own sound, the fact that LA has their own sound, the fact that like Atlanta has their own sound that is taking over everybody, that is taking over the entire world, and Florida has their own sound. Oh, Lil Tyler, that
Oh,
dude is
he like
hard.
15, right? Let's see.
He's 16.
Yeah.
Lil Tyler is so hard, bro. If he keeps going, he could literally be as like a lot of people are comparing him to Kodak Black when he first came out. No, Milwaukee scene is crazy too. Milwaukee scene is wild, but Lil Tyler as of late is like I don't know what it is, but his flow is so crazy. Like I just feel like nobody sounds like him. Um, but Lil Tyler is basically like yeah, a lot of people have been comparing him to like Kodak when he first came out, but he could really be like he could really be like a Florida legend if he keeps going. And knowing that the fact that he's starting the stuff that he's starting at 16 um is crazy. Like he's very much I don't know, I really like hearing stories of like young rising rappers that are from these regional places, that are like from these places that have like this huge scene, like
Yeah.
or that have their own little and they have their own flow, they have their own beats, and they have their own sound. They have sounds that they use in their beats that are like that. It's like if you know what it like, you know what a Detroit beat sounds like when you hear it. You know, that's why a lot of people like Babytron, and I'm not like the biggest like I don't really listen to Babytron's music like that, but Babytron is Babytron is one that might be like top 10 best rappers out right now. Like he's so good at rapping. Like that's so
Yeah, yeah, but he got the long hair, right? And he has a new crew, right?
yeah
Yeah, I seen him.
yeah
Go crazy.
yeah. So Babytron is like somebody that I know that like that's somebody that I know that I'm like you so insurmountably good at rapping. Like it's just crazy. There's and I feel like a lot of people that are out right now are trying to bring the competition, like are trying to bring like that competition and that raw uh like mano a mano type thing in rap back. Like I think Babytron is like somebody who's like, oh no, like that I'm like the hardest have their own identities in rap and stuff and be like, I'm not focused on being the best rapper, and that's great. But when you have those people that like competitive at rapping, and then that's what drives their rap styles and stuff is just so good. So like, um, and like I say this to everybody like, all the time about delivery. Like these rappers have great delivery. Like Lil Tyler has amazing delivery. Like he just has like that like he just has like this real raspy voice. It's really, and it's like somewhat soft, but like it's raspy, soft at the same time it's soft, it's raspy. It's like it's like you can listen to him and hear him just like he's it's like sounds cool and he can say whatever, but it sounds cool because of his delivery. So like that's basically what I've been listening to lately.
Yeah, and I like how you were talking about the regional rap because I'm a dancer as well, and one thing I've noticed as a dancer is that every time there's a dance trend,
Mm-hmm.
that dance trend is attached to a certain music that's attached to a certain area, and it's like
Yes.
you can literally
Yes.
take every single dance trend and like so when like Atlanta blew up, it was hit them folks, Yeet, the Nene, all that shit, right? Then like when
Yes.
Chicago blew up, it was Chance the Rapper, D Lo,
Right. Ju-
you feel me? Yeah. And then Memphis Drippin came out with Take Keith, and then like suddenly you saw all the Memphis Drippers going crazy on the internet. Memphis was the craziest rise of hip hop culture I've ever seen
yep.
because they literally came out together. Like they came out like, "What's up? This is our culture," and I loved seeing that because after that they did a collaboration with Alvin Ailey. They did a collaboration with commercials, and you saw literally not just the producers, but you saw artists, dancers, creatives, and producers from Memphis just shining. It was really nice to see. So back to that regional rap,
And like
I love seeing that.
me too, bro. Regional I could honestly write an entire like I could write a dissertation or like a little like 10 paper about regional rap and how like hip hop culture from different states like how they have their how they have their little moments and like how impact is like or around the same time like Dallas had the whoa and like that's where you saw Tisa Korean
Yes, sir.
and 10K Cash and 10K Cash and stuff and these are like Tisa and 10K like I don't understand but they're literally like trendsetters
They
like you guys
are.
like they're literally like Tisa there's a point in time Tisa was literally TikTok like he was TikTok so like he's like Tisa is literally dead as a pioneer and then like then you have like now I mean like beforehand we've seen like Jersey and everybody doing stiff hips and
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
literally
that
happening right
and
now.
then
I'm from Jersey and I'm watching this happen. I'm just like, it was crazy because, bro, I've danced Jersey Club my whole life, bro, and I stopped dancing to it. And I'm seeing it happen 20, like, I'm 23 years old now, bro. I was dancing to that when I was like 13. So to see it happen now is so crazy. But keep going.
that's crazy. So you were, I like, I couldn't have these like being from a place where their dance culture is like so like it's so rich, and then you knowing that you were dancing like that at 13,
Yeah, and I feel like though
that's
that's
so
where,
wild to me. Like,
but that's where the musical style comes in because like Memphis was able to evolve their style. I feel like, and Drake, I guess Drake was the one who might have taken Take Keith and like taken Memphis and elevate that. I think for New Jersey it was like Badman Real, we had Idmatic,
yeah,
and we had Uzi, which helped elevate the style. Because I feel like if
yeah,
Uzi and Badman Real and Idmatic weren't making those drill Jersey club like
yeah.
songs, it wouldn't we would have been stuck in the same music over and over and over.
Mhm. And then in the same reason, in the same realm that like Jersey has, like everybody was like, drill music in New York was huge, is like huge. The other people getting, and like now they have like getting sturdy is like, you know, and I don't even know if like getting sturdy was a thing beforehand before everybody started doing it, but like now now we're seeing Milwaukee have their moment, and
Hmm.
seeing the way that people in Milwaukee like dance and stuff. And honestly, I just think it's so cool. Um, I think DJ Smalls does, but I don't. I'm not too sure. But like, which Smalls made that Jersey flip of um the Coil Ray song. Like I that all that's that was um it got so big that like these people, and I mean these people get so big that like Coil Ray is doing videos and like out in the music video.
Hmm.
And like Uzi, when Uzi made Just Wanna Rock, like Uzi had everybody, he shut down five just to like film
Yo,
the
my bad.
video.
It cut out. Say it one more time.
Uzi shut down five black, or it was either Philly or New York, but he shut down Fox of Philly and New York just to film the Just Wanna Rock video.
Hmm.
And he didn't even want to make it like, he just wanted to make it like everybody comes out and starts and just like vibes on dances with them. That's like culture,
Hmm.
really cold. Um, like that's what music. That's what we need in our time. We need these like, in the same vein that like I feel like, you know as important as it is to have classic albums, to have albums that stand the test of time, to have albums that send a message out as you know as an artist or whatever. It's also important, the people that make their one little 2 3 hits or whatever, and then they see what that does for their region, and they see what that does for their city where they're from. Like that's so important too, because that's literally culture. Like that's what sparks conversations. That's why we have these moments. And I'm pretty sure when they were filming the Just Wanna Rock video, like they were, they had all those people out. Somebody from there could say, yeah, that was like one of the biggest moments ever.
Hmm.
That was like a crazy moment in time. So I feel like, and I mean, like there might have been, and I remember, and like what's even crazier is like around 2016, 2017, 2018, around that time, I remember like being driving in the city of Richmond, where I'm from, like um just driving, like my dad was taking me somewhere or whatever, so I was in the passenger seat, and I just see like hitting them folks in camera, and somebody filming the video, like, and
That's the culture,
they were
bro.
outside of this.
I was part of that shit
But that's what I'm
too.
saying. That's literally, I was like, that's so cool. Like, and then fast forward to like a couple months ago, me and my girl were driving in Philly, going to one of her friends' housewarming parties. And while we're like, as soon as we get there, or I think this was on the way back. On the way back, like we're trying to drive back to our Airbnb. Like we just see we just see like a group of like, I want to say 10, 11 kids, like out in the middle of the street stiff hipping, and we were just trying to drive, and they were in the middle of the street, but we couldn't even get mad. I couldn't even get like, and I didn't want to, like, because that's literally like, because if I was 13, 14, during, like, I would have been doing the same thing, like, I would have been doing the exact same thing. And I feel like we were just sitting there laughing, like, saying, like, oh my God, like, that's so cool. I just thought, like, because, like, just seeing that and just seeing how culture just, like, just exuberates every, like, wherever you're at,
Yeah.
it's just so cool to me. Like, so, well, me seeing like 3, 4 kids that were probably in high school just making hitting folks videos just because were bored and didn't have any, and didn't know what to do on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Like, I don't know. I was just like, I remember looking. I was literally staring for a good minute, like seeing these kids do it, because I was like, we were on the highway and I was looking down, and I literally like was about to break my neck looking at these kids doing it, because I just thought, I was like, I'm literally never before I've been anywhere seen that. So seeing that was so cool to me.
But yeah, dance culture, music culture is, I think it's all part of each other. It's all gonna make the world go round. And one of the other cool things about dance culture is that you can trace you can trace not only the rhythms in our music, but the dance moves back to back to African moves. So it's like you start
Exactly.
breaking down the music, like you start breaking down drill, you start realizing that drill has some of the same bass rhythms that African music has. I'm just like, oh man, these people
Exactly.
don't even really know. It's like our culture is literally going from the homeland over to the diaspora, and it's literally thriving right now in front of everybody. And it's through the form of UK drill, through the form of hip hop, through the form of Afro beats, through the form of jazz, whatever it is. But our culture is coming through in every single way, and it's great. It's just amazing to see that.
I just think that stuff is so cool to me, because it's like, now I mean, and now that we're seeing like our culture is like even more now maximized than ever. Like Afrobeats is now like a mainstream genre. Like, it's like people don't have to go out of their, like, don't have to really dig that deep to listen to it. It it's all like, it's it's
So let me see the last clip. All right. So what's up, y'all? I apologize. The clip cut off. We ran out of space. But that's how you know it was a good conversation. But lastly, I just want to ask you, man, is there anything that you want to leave to the people, to other creators who come by, and anything that you want to leave them in terms of what you're dropping and what's coming up?
um I want to say, uh first I want to say thank you, and then second of all, keep going. And um yeah, that's all I got for right now.
Hey, that's all we need. Thank you, man. Thanks for coming by. And
Thank you.
y'all can check them out at, what's your Instagram?
Uncle Kizzy.
Yes, sir. You check it out. He's on
And then
TikTok.
my TikTok is Uncle Kizzy.
So you guys got it. Tap in, stay up, and you'll catch it on YouTube very soon.